in order to pay off his debts. My father designed to send me to a place where the wealthy and noble families in the Beijing circle have fun. Fortunately, my childhood sweetheart was also there. Just when I wanted him to save me, a few lines of words suddenly floated in front of me. Poor heroine, don't beg your childhood sweetheart. He is planning to give your heart to his white moonlight. Quickly beg the one on the far left. He is older and will be caring. Don't hesitate. He is here for you. Although he looks fierce on the outside. Call him young Master Edward, and he will give you his life. Immediately, I crawled to the feet of the person mentioned in the barrage and flattered him. Young Master Edward, please be kind to me. One gentleman. I have brought my daughter here. Can you let me go now? When I opened my eyes vaguely, I just heard my father say this sentence. I wanted to resist vigorously, but somehow, I had no strength all over, and could only lie on the ground unable to move. When my father saw that I was awake, he forcefully untied the rope tied to my feet and whispered in my ear like a devil. I have raised you for so many years. It's time to repay me. After saying that, he stuffed a pill into my mouth and then left without looking back. The daughter raised is really beautiful. I wonder how it feels to play with her. She is still a female celebrity. Take more photos later. Disgusting sarcastic remarks sounded around. Instantly, I was overwhelmed by fear and despair. I understood that he had brought me to a place where the wealthy and noble families have fun. People who come to this place to be playthings either end up disabled or dead. But my own father is planning to use me to make a deal with these people in exchange for his future. Out of the desire for survival, I forced myself to get up, and only then could I see the surrounding scene clearly. Not far from me was a row of sofas. Sitting on the sofas were all people in suits. The light was dim and I couldn't see the faces of all the people clearly. But those whose expressions on their faces I could see were all looking at me with eyes like choosing commodities, which made people feel sick. I have been drugged now and my hands are still tied. Moreover, this place is heavily guarded and there is no possibility of escape at all. Just when I was about to give in to fate, a familiar voice rang out. Nancy Hi. Don't be afraid. I recognized the owner of the voice. It was David, my childhood sweetheart who grew up with me. He stood up from among those people like a god, and his face was filled with unconcealable joy. It was as if he was saying that he had come to take me home. Just when he was approaching me, a few lines of words suddenly floated in front of my eyes. What a great performance. The Oscars owe the male lead a little golden man. Heroine. Your childhood sweetheart is the male lead. His white moonlight is the female supporting role. The male lead is about to sacrifice you to save the female supporting role. I thought it was an illusion, and blinked hard. As soon as I opened my eyes, the barrage was still floating. Poor heroine. Don't beg your childhood sweetheart. He is planning to give your heart to his white moonlight. Don't be deceived by this scumbag. He and your father are acting out this play together. Now I believed it because David really had a white moonlight with a bad heart. Also because of this white moonlight, the relationship between us who have played together since childhood has created a rift. It is said that we need to avoid suspicion. Not long ago, he suddenly took me for a full body checkup, saying that he was concerned about my physical condition. At that time, I grinned foolishly, thinking that it was both free and good for my health. I happily followed him. My father, who had had a physical examination not long ago, also followed us to the hospital for the physical examination. So why did my father follow? What is their relationship exactly? Oh my dear mother. Thinking about it carefully is really terrifying. Now David has come up to me and reached out his hand. I hesitated. Staying here will lead to being played to death. Following him will lead to being killed by having my heart removed. In short, I will die either way. Just then, the barrage became lively. He's here. He's here. The second male lead has finally arrived. Quickly beg the one on the far left. He is older and will be caring. He's not that old. He's just 9 years older than you. Hold his thigh. You will survive. Don't hesitate. He is here for you. although he looks fierce on the outside. Call him young Master Edward, and he will give you his life. My eyes suddenly lit up because I found a life-saving straw. In the give him life literature, and give me life literature. As long as one is a normal person, one will definitely choose the former. You son of a bitch. Get lost. I don't know where I got the strength. I lifted my leg and kicked David, knocking him to the ground. Then, in the shocked gazes of everyone, I immediately crawled to the feet of the person mentioned in the barrage. I knew this was my only chance to survive. I spoke flattering lie, fearing that he would not agree. Young Master Edward, please be kind to me. Only after saying this did I realize how shameful this sentence was. After a few seconds of silence in the air, I heard a light chuckle from above. Then a big hand firmly pinched my chin, forcing me to look up. In an instant, I was facing a pair of captivating peach blossom eyes. The man clearly had a smile on his lips, but there was no smile in his eyes. It looked creepy. But his flawless face as a whole was so captivating that one couldn't look away. Give me a reason to be kind to you. He unconsciously increased his strength, causing me a sharp pain. Only then did I realize that my life was still in his hands. Sure enough, the more charming one is, the more dangerous. The barrage gave me another idea. Don't be deceived by him. He is pretending to be calm. In fact, his heart is screaming like a groundhog inside. Say you love him. Say it quickly. He just seems to be an experienced player in love. In fact, he is a pure virgin who can't stand being teased. As a female celebrity who has struggled in the entertainment industry for so many years, performing deep love is a basic skill. So I took out the first rule of my family's performance method. Crying scenes should be quick. The atmosphere is created by oneself. At this moment, I already felt tears welling up in my eyes. My voice was so feel-wronged that it trembled. Because I love you. You know, I have never been loved by my father and mother since I was a child. I don't know what love is. Until I saw you. My heart and my lungs. Every organ in my body is saying that I love you. I closed my eyes and let the tears fall and continued. If you don't want me, then forget it. I can follow them too. Unexpectedly, the man who was still calm just now was angered by some words. He took off his suit jacket and wrapped me up, declaring his sovereignty to others. Besides me, who else do you want to follow? Who dares to take my person? Be obedient and follow me. I will protect you for a lifetime. And everyone has no objections. Right? The last sentence was even more threatening, as if saying that whoever dares to touch me, he will kill whoever. I covered my face and trembled, seemingly crying, but actually laughing wildly. The person who can be so domineering in the Beijing circle is probably only that mysterious Mr. Edward. He is so mysterious that there is not a single photo of him on the internet. I only know what he looks like today. So his power and strength are indescribable. If there is such a person as a backer, then this life will be extremely easy. While laughing, my body became hotter and hotter. I thought it was because I was too excited and my adrenaline soared. I didn't pay attention, and continued to be happy, until there was a feeling of life burning. Help! Only then did I remember that my beastly father had fed me a pill before leaving. The man immediately noticed that something was wrong with me and grabbed my hand that was scratching randomly on him. Little wild cat. What are you doing? My eyes were filled with lust. My mind was full of mosaic content. Of course I want to sleep with you. Heroine. Be gentle when teasing. We only have this one pure young Master Edward. Don't tease him too much. Exciting young Master Edward's earlobes are all red. For Edward gently picked me up horizontally. The feeling of weightlessness in my dress scared me, and I subconsciously reached out and put my arms around his neck. The cool touch relieved my heat and made me want to touch more. My hands started to reach behind him again. Edward softly coaxed, "Be good. I'll let you touch more when we get home." Then he looked up and said to the people present with a fake smile, "I don't want to hear anyone discussing what happened to Emily here in the future. If someone can't control their mouth, I can come and have a talk. Everyone quickly agreed and promised to keep this matter to themselves. Except for David. He clenched his fists as if he was unwilling. Finally, he couldn't help but call out to Edward, who was about to leave. "Young Master Edward." Edward's face was extremely gloomy. He directly interrupted what David wanted to say. "Mr. David has an objection?" David knew his place. If Edward wanted to take me away, no one could stop him. He could only give up. No. 5 Edward carefully carried me into the car, and then ordered people to bowter faster. "I'm hot. Let me touch you quickly." I didn't care that there were still other people in the car. I directly pulled at Edward's clothes in a mess, hoping to get a moment of coolness. But there was always a hand stopping me. After getting really impatient, I wanted to angrily shout. But what came out was a soft voice. "Don't move, let me do it." After saying this sentence, I clearly felt the person holding me tense up. My waist was also poked painfully. I reached out my hand to find out what it was. The consequence was that my hands were punished again and firmly held. Edward's eyes were dark and his voice was hoarse and low. "Who am I?" I didn't think twice. "A handsome guy." The person who spoke seemed a little unhappy. "You don't even know who I am and you still dare to take off clothes randomly. What do you want to do after taking off your clothes?" "I want to pour 24th cement mixed spaghetti into the Pacific Ocean with little penguins. Then put on a bikini and go find polar bears to dance hand in hand." My ZHI is so great. You can still speak so coherently even when your mind is not clear. Although his tone was very doting, I only heard the words "mind is not clear." I thought he was scolding me. I whimpered softly. "Woo woo woo. You are so fierce to me. I feel so uncomfortable." "Okay. We'll be there soon." He didn't lie to me. The car quickly drove into the courtyard of a villa. 6 When I fell onto the soft bed, I couldn't bear the heat anymore. I firmly put my arms around his neck with both hands and wouldn't let him go. I cried and told my grievances. "Why did you come so late? I feel so uncomfortable. Who am I?" I don't know why Edward was so persistent in asking this question. But this time when I answered, I opened my eyes and looked at the person in front of me. Shun Hui. Correct answer. Is it good to give myself as a reward to Zhizij? He very gently kissed the tears at the corner of my eyes and unbuttoned his clothes at the same time. He was also saying some words that I couldn't understand. This time I finally arrived in time. "Good Zhizhi. Don't leave me again. Okay? I will not let go of anyone who hurt Zhizhi." He called my name over and over again, like a treasure found again after being lost, fearing that it would be lost again. 7 When I woke up, my whole body ached. Edward was like an insatiable beast last night. It seemed that it was he who was drugged, not me. At this time, the barrage started to flash again. What's going on? It goes black at the crucial moment. Is there anything that I, a noble member, can't see? I am not short of money. Quickly bring up the blacked out part from last night. Look at the marks on the heroine's neck. At a glance, one can tell that the battle was intense. My little face flushed red. In fright, I quickly pulled up the sheet and covered the part below my head. Then I continued to look at the barrage and found it more and more interesting. It provides information that I don't know. It's like having a cheat in life. Anyway, there is no rehearsal in life. Every day is a live broadcast. Now there is an additional special skill. Why not be happy about it? So I don't reject its existence. I picked up the phone beside me and did face recognition to see the hot searches. In the internet age, as a female celebrity, any little thing will be hung on the internet. So I am afraid that what happened yesterday will be exposed by someone with ulterior motives. Then my career will be over. Fortunately, there is no my name. Instead, there are some gossips about other celebrities. I clicked on each one to read. Suddenly, a browser pop-up window popped up and I accidentally clicked on it when my hand slipped. The title of the content is "Love Her Like Loving a Flower." I was full of question marks. I clicked the return key to the browser search bar. After seeing the browsing history, I was even more shocked. What should I pay attention to for the first time? How can I be more comfortable? Oh my God. What kind of vulgar words are these? And how could they appear in the search history of my phone? You are holding my phone. Edward didn't know when he appeared at the door. The corners of his mouth were raised. There was a faint smile on his lips. His eyes were looking straight at me. I was so scared that I shuddered and accidentally threw the phone out. Oh no. I forgot to press the return button. The phone is still on the page of the search history. If Edward sees it, won't he know that I have discovered his secret? Will he silence me? I couldn't help shivering and my mind started to find excuses crazily. As soon as my mouth followed my mind, I blurted out everything I was thinking. For the first time, it's normal to be unskilled. But I had a good experience. I will still be with you next time. Emily. How did you say it so seriously? I guess Emily is going to generously tip 200 yuan. Edward narrowed his eyes slightly. Looking meaningful. It made me shudder involuntarily. It seems that I didn't praise him correctly. I can't praise his skills. Then I can praise his beauty. I softened my tone and pretended to be mysterious. Mr. Edward, do you know why dinosaurs became extinct? Because their arms were too short, and they couldn't clap when they saw your beauty. He frowned and clicked his tongue. Looking a little regretful, it seems that I didn't work hard enough last night. I have so much energy. While saying this, he strode towards me with his hands behind his back. I didn't know what was in his hand. I immediately shut up and stared at his movements. Until he put a bowl of noodles on the table. Your favorite hot and sour noodles with fried eggs. From that one in Yuan Alley. My hanging heart finally settled down. But in the next second, I became vigilant again. How did he know that I love to eat hot and sour noodles from that one in Yuan Alley and also add fried eggs? Mr. Edward, did you investigate me? Edward unwrapped the outer packaging layer by layer and carefully stirred the noodles. The steps were exactly the same as when I ate noodles. I also love to eat that one. I have met you several times. You just don't remember. I was surprised. It shouldn't be. With your looks, I would remember firmly every time I see you. It's impossible not to remember after seeing you several times. Edward frowned slightly. I was perceptive and immediately shut up. Sure enough, a man's heart is as deep as the sea. His thoughts are unfathomable. Then I simply won't try to figure it out. Evelyn quietly finished eating the noodles without leaving a single drop of soup. After eating, Edward said he had something to deal with at the company. Before leaving, he repeatedly told me not to go out. He also said where I wanted to go. He would take me there after he came back. He didn't explain why. But I have a scene to shoot today. If I don't go, I will have to pay a huge amount of liquidated damages. Moreover, before I woke up, my agent called me dozens of times to urge me. There was no way. After Edward left, I quietly took a taxi to the shooting location. 9 since it was a costume drama. It took a long time to do makeup and hair. Plus, I was overworked last night and couldn't hold on and fell asleep. In a daze, I was woken up by someone. It turned out to be the makeup artist. It's done. The makeup artist was like eating a powder keg today. His tone was very impatient. But I didn't care and admired myself in the mirror. Soon I realized something was wrong. I played the villainous female supporting role. The makeup should be more enchanting. But in the mirror, I was made up to look pure. The headdress was mainly white. The more I looked at it, the more it looked like the makeup of the female lead. I grabbed the makeup artist, who was about to leave, and asked, "My makeup and hair are not the set, right? Isn't this the female leads?" The makeup artist glanced at me with dissatisfied eyes, as if avoiding a plague. He distanced himself from me. The director requested it. I don't know the specific details. I was extremely puzzled. What on earth had happened that made people treat me like this? There was no way. I went to ask the director. Before I saw the director, I was stopped by someone with the same makeup as me. Sister Nancy Chai. You will have to be wrong today. The person who came was the female lead of the crew. David's white moonlight with a bad heart. 10 Whenever she called me sister, I knew she was about to start making trouble. You requested it? Evelyn didn't plan to pretend anymore since there was no one around. She chuckled and there was hatred in her eyes. Do you still think you are a young lady? Your family has sold you. What airs are you putting on? Looking at her completely different look from her usual delicate and charming appearance, I just found it inexplicable. Let me state one thing first. It has nothing to do with me anymore. Secondly, in my impression, I haven't provoked Miss Evelyn, right? Why do you have such a big hostility towards me? Evelyn seemed to have been stepped on a minefield. Her emotions became even more irritable. Why does everyone have to revolve around you? They should all be mine. I was also in a bad mood. Revolve. Revolve. Do you think they are carousels? Family members. Who understands? Even a gold miner can't dig up such pure divine gold. But now I have encountered it. Looking at David who was approaching us not far away, I sneered and reminded Evelyn, look, David is coming. You can just ask him why he wants to be a carousel. It has to be said that except for her bad acting skills when acting, at other times, Evelyn's acting skills are simply amazing. Hearing that I said David was coming, she immediately covered her heart and returned to her delicate and helpless appearance. You know, I have a bad heart. For a few scenes where I need to be suspended by wires, I haven't found a stunt double for the time being. The director saw that you and I are about the same size, so he temporarily decided that you will be my stunt double. Sister Nanzai Chai. Don't be angry. David, who had just arrived, happened to hear what she said. He couldn't help frowning to express his displeasure. Nancy Chai. Be more generous. What's wrong with helping Evelyn? I slowly raised my phone that had been recording the whole process and pretended to be concerned. Oh, Evelyn. You can't touch porcelain. Everything we said just now has been recorded. Evelyn's face darkened and she became flustered. She didn't even care that she was still pretending to be sick. She pushed David away and wanted to snatch my phone. She knew that once my video was sent out, her delicate little white flower persona would completely collapse. This was something she had managed to build up with great difficulty. But how could I let her succeed? With the turn she missed. Recently, I have been addicted to watching the old version of A Dream of Red Mansions. In this situation, I was in high spirits and taunted her in a yin-yang tone by imitating Lind. I used tone and demeanor. Oh, sister, didn't you say your heart is bad? How come you are as strong as an ox? David was heartbroken when he saw his white moonlight being bullied. Enough. Emily, what are you making a fuss about? Look, how come one sentence has made brother so anxious? Sister will leave immediately. Don't bite people randomly anymore. Occasionally being naughty is very fun. 71 I was like winning a battle and happily walked towards the studio. Then I was sanctioned by Capital. The director slammed the script in his hand on the ground, and pointed at me and scolded, if you can act, then act. If you can't, then leave. There are many people who want to play the female supporting role. The director seemed to think of something and his tone softened. You only act as a stunt double once. It's just a matter of a moment. Otherwise, the entire progress will be delayed. Although I have been struggling in the entertainment industry for so many years, I have no backer behind me and have always been in a lukewarm state. In fact, when I knew that the female lead was Evelyn, I didn't want to take it at first. But after reading the script, the pursuit and temperament of the villainous female supporting role really attracted me. Especially in the end. She sacrificed herself for the country, which made me see the charm of women. After thinking about it again and again, I chose to take on this drama. I never thought there would be so many troubles. But I don't have the script of any other drama in my hand now. It will definitely be even more difficult to have one in the future. After calming down, I still chose to continue acting. Okay. Just this once. I cooperated with the prop master and put on the wire harness. Carousel. Emily's imagination is going to make me laugh to death. Emily is so smart. She even knows to record. The crazy man and crazy woman are furious. It's so enjoyable. The barrage was all praising me. But gradually, the content of the barrage made me get goosensed. All of them told me not to be suspended by wires. Female-led. Don't do it. Why is the plot advanced? Female-led. Don't be fooled. The wire has been tampered with by the male-led. In the previous life. Because of being suspended by wires. You fainted after falling and your heart was taken by the male-led. What previous life? What is the barrage talking about? Why can't I understand it? But it's too late now. The director has already said action. Looking at the thick sponge laid underneath. I could only say my lines and jump down with a hard head. The revenge of the previous life will be avenged in the next life. 12 at the moment of jumping down. A click sound rang out on the set. Everyone looked at the source of the sound and found that a rope on my wire was broken. The sudden change made me shake violently. The landing place deviated from the sponge mat. Some people panicked and pulled the rope to reduce my falling speed. Some people pushed the sponge mat according to where I was falling. Everyone seemed to be in chaos, but took remedial measures in an orderly manner. In the end, I fell heavily on the sponge mat with only one layer. I preserved my life but fell into a coma. Before closing my eyes, I seemed to see Edward. 13. I had a dream. In the dream, after I was sold by my father, David saved me. David comforted me and told me not to be afraid and said that he would marry me. Although he was my childhood sweetheart, I didn't like him. Seeing that he saved me at a critical moment, I decided to give him a chance. David took me to the villa where he lived and said that the villa would be our new house in the future, and let me live there at ease. He was worried about my body and invited a doctor to give me a comprehensive examination every day. After a long time, facing his meticulous care, I was moved and I agreed to marry him. On the day of his proposal, I saw his white moonlight, Evelyn, crying with red eyes in the corner. That night, David didn't come home. He said there was something at the company, but a woman's sixth sense made me uneasy. I went to question him. He said that he only loved me in this life and had cut off all ties with Evelyn. I, who was in love, believed him. On the day when we were going to get the marriage certificate, the director suddenly notified me to shoot a scene where I was suspended by wires. David was very considerate and said he understood me. He also drove me to the set and said that we would go get the certificate after filming. But there was an accident. The rope broke and I fell. When I woke up, I was lying in the hospital. I wanted to move my body, but I couldn't because my limbs were firmly handcuffed. At that moment, fear and uneasiness welled up in my heart, just like the day I was sold by my father. Just like that day, David appeared by my side like a savior. But this time, the look in his eyes when he looked at me was full of disgust. Be good. Your heart will soon belong to Evelyn. And my father was following behind him. You were a pampered young lady. But my Evelyn has suffered outside. Now it's your turn to compensate her. Only then did I understand that David had loved Evelyn from the beginning to the end. And Evelyn was my father's illegitimate daughter. Because he felt guilty towards her. He wanted to exchange my life for hers. David saving me was also a trap they had designed before. In despair, the doctor cut open my body without giving me anesthesia and took out my heart. 14. The dream stopped at the moment when my heart was taken away. I suddenly woke up and subconsciously reached out to touch my heart. It hurt so much. It wasn't physical pain, but the pain in the area of my heart. My sixth sense told me that it wasn't a dream. It had really happened. Combining what the barrage said, I came to a fact. I was reborn. The ward was very quiet. So quiet that I seemed to be able to hear the sound of my own heart beating. I was eager to prove my guess and asked the barrage, I don't know who you are. Why do you send barrage and I can see it? But I believe you are helping me. So I want to ask. Have I been reborn? The barrage was scrolling in real time. Damn. I can even interact with the heroine now. Yes. Yes. Emily. You have been reborn. Getting the answer didn't make me feel as relieved as I had imagined. Instead, I was even more painful. I couldn't believe that my childhood sweetheart who had grown up with me, and my own father would not care about more than 20 years of affection and cut out my heart alive. What about Edward? What happened to Edward in the previous life? I urgently asked about Edward. In my previous life. I didn't know Edward. I didn't know why he wanted to save me. Now it seems that Edward must have been reborn too. In the previous life. After you were sold by your beastly father. Edward also went. But he was a step late. He thought you liked David so he didn't disturb you. But who knew that David was also not a good thing? Edward has been regretting and blaming himself. Woo woo. In order to avenge you, Edward killed all those who had hurt you. Because the circumstances were heinous. He was wanted by the police. In the end, he hid in front of your grave and committed suicide. His body was only found a week later and it was already stinking. The barrage was like thousands of knives cutting one wound after another on my heart. The pain was unbearable. The pain was so intense that it almost made me faint. I was gasping for breath and large mouthfuls. But any breath would aggravate this pain. I couldn't imagine that such a proud person would end up being wanted in the end. Clearly being a star above everyone else. He would end his life in a hasty way in front of my grave. Sister. It's really too tragic. You must not let that dog man and woman live. Yes. None of them will be able to escape. 15 The ward door was pushed open and I was instantly on edge. Only when I saw that it was Edward did I completely relax. Sure a chai's a chai. How are you feeling? I opened my mouth and wanted to call his name. But found that I couldn't speak. He lovingly brushed aside the stray hairs on my face and gently wiped away the tears at the corners of my eyes with his fingertips. Are you still not feeling well? I'll call the doctor. I shook my head. At this moment, I just wanted to be with him. Be good. Let the doctor check your body. I'll stay by your side. I thought about it, and nodded. If I didn't get checked, he definitely wouldn't be at ease. I didn't want to worry him anymore. The doctor took me for a full body examination. The preliminary diagnosis was that there was no problem. The doctor was very surprised. Falling from such a high place and being okay is really a miracle. I smiled slightly and politely indicated to the doctor. Only I knew the truth behind it. Falling from such a high place couldn't possibly be okay. After the accident, the seemingly chaotic scene was actually clearly divided in tasks. That day, someone happened to be guarding by the unbroken rope. Someone happened to place the last layer of sponge mat while I was falling. All the coincidences were deliberate arrangements. The 3 people who wanted my heart had to make sure that I wouldn't die from the fall. Otherwise, they wouldn't be able to see the despair and pain of me being cut open alive. But they didn't expect that Edward would arrive at the scene again and disrupt their seemingly flawless plan. I think they definitely won't let it go, and there will be another plot next time. And I already have a revenge plan in my heart. 16 I didn't tell Edward about my rebirth. After being discharged from the hospital, Edward stuck to me all day, and didn't leave me even half a step. Me, I want to go to the toilet. Edward, I'll guard outside the door. I was helpless. I want to take a bath. Edward blushed. Then I'll go in guard. Me. At night. There was no half step away. Edward. You are a little childish. Do you know that you are 9 years older than me? Edward was aggrieved. You are dislike me for being old. I rubbed around in his arms. No. Older people will be caring. I like it very much. You teased. Don't cry later. Being older makes one more sensitive. What can I do? Of course. I have to spoil him. For a week. We lived like this. I had nothing to do. But Edward had a lot of things to do. He withdrew his investment in the drama I was shooting. Because I liked the role of the female supporting role. He bought the shooting copyright of the drama. As for the director, He was found to have slept around and evaded taxes and was sent in. The person who deliberately damaged the props was also sent in. But these are not the results I want. I am not reconciled to David and Evelyn being perfectly hidden. I think my plan is about to start being implemented. That night, Edward held me extremely tightly. I'm going abroad for 5 days. Be good. Don't go out. Okay? When I come back, we'll go get the marriage certificate. Everything will be resolved. I will solve it for you. Every sentence of Edward was full of worry. I understood what he meant. He wanted to settle everything for me. Remembering that in the previous life Edward committed suicide in front of my grave after taking revenge, my heart ached again. But how dare I pull Edward, who should be on the altar, into the quagmire again? I closed my eyes and suppressed the surging emotions. When I opened my eyes again, I met Edward's intense gaze. Okay. I'll wait for you. 17 David was too out of touch with the news. It wasn't until the 3rd day after Edward went abroad that he sent a message wanting to ask me out. I didn't hesitate and agreed to him. I chose a coffee shop not far from the hospital as the meeting place. You meet me alone. Won't your white moonlight be angry? David, who had been keeping his head down, raised it and showed a protective look. Don't be like this. Evelyn really wants to be good sisters with you. Maybe he didn't even believe this sentence himself. Then I certainly wouldn't believe it. A good sister who wants to harm me. I don't dare to have one. But I still can't show it. First, I was slightly surprised. Then I gently raised the corners of my lips and smiled, pretending to be very happy. Really? Then give her a chance. Where is she? David seemed surprised that I agreed so readily. There was a hint of unnaturalness in his eyes. She is in the hospital now. Do you want to? Without giving him a chance to finish speaking, I picked up my bag and stood up, looking impatient. It's not far from here. Then I'll go and see her. Okay. 18 David took me to the hospital. He seemed very guilty. So guilty that he didn't dare to look at me. When he spoke, he avoided looking at me. I pretended to be vigilant and stopped and pointed at the operating room not far away and asked, "Isn't that an operating room ahead? Why are you taking me here?" David had his back to me, then I couldn't see his expression. He walked in front and pushed open the large door of the operating room. She is inside. I nodded. Oh. Then I followed him into the operating room. Looking at the empty operating room, I had to amplify my fear and show it so that David could see it. After I came in, I immediately turned around and wanted to go out. There is no one inside at all. What are you doing? But I was stopped by David. Watching him quickly lock the door of the operating room, I sneered in my heart. What he locked was not my retreat but his. He turned to face me. There was a rare look of guilt on his face. Nancy I'm really sorry. But without a good heart, Evelyn won't live long. But yours can match hers. I screamed in horror. What are you doing? David took a belt and approached me step by step. Give her your heart. Okay? I continued to back away, and squeezed out a few tears. It really looked like I was scared and crying. This is illegal. Do you want to spend your life in prison? The surveillance has been destroyed by me. The doctor has been bribed by me. No one will know. I looked at the doctor slowly approaching behind him. The doctor's face overlapped with the face of the doctor in the previous life. However, this time it wasn't me who was caught. I suddenly stopped and tilted my head and sneered at him. There was full of banter in my words. Really? The surveillance is only turned off now. What? At the same time as he asked in doubt. The sedative had already been injected into his body. The game starts now. 19 When David woke up again, Evelyn was also lying next to him. And I was sitting in the middle of them, still playing with a small knife in my hand, looking at David with a half smile. Awake? What are you doing? Fortune takes turns. Now it's his turn to ask why. Pretending to think, I innocently said to him, do what you wanted to do but never did before. David is not too stupid and immediately understood what I meant. But when he wanted to lift his limbs, he found that I had locked him with an iron chain, and could only struggle desperately on the bed. This is illegal. Look at his forgetful mind. I told you. The surveillance was turned off after you revealed your plan. Because this private hospital is Edward's property, it's very easy for them to help me. He still didn't give up and yelled at me. What about the doctor? I found it noisy and covered one ear with my hand and said something that made him despair. He can take your money. Why can't he take my money? I'm not as stingy as you. I spent double the price. Perhaps Evelyn on the side was disturbed and showed signs of waking up. I clicked my tongue and said to David, "Look, you woke up your white moonlight. What if her little heart can't take it?" Evelyn slowly opened her eyes and saw me. The expression on her face instantly turned to horror. I raised the small knife and waved it at Evelyn. "Hi, it's me." Evelyn's voice was no longer affected. She couldn't stop trembling. "Why are you still alive?" "Of course I have to be alive. Otherwise, how would you die?" I looked innocent but said extremely vicious words. "Look at your tender skin. If you peel it off completely, will it become the most perfect work of art in the world?" Under their horrified gazes, I laughed more and more wildly. To be more accurate, it was madness. It's better to be a little crazy. At least you can live happily. Don't you want to be together forever? I'll help you. Dying together can make you be together forever. Scream louder. The begging for mercy before death is simply the most beautiful melody in the world. Do you think it will be more wonderful if it is accompanied by the sound of blood gushing out from the neck? Emily is on a rampage. My silly heroine has been transformed into a crazy heroine. Emily, calm down. You can give the evidence to the police. Yes. If you kill them and are caught, what will happen to Edward? Just when the small knife was about to cut David's throat, the door was kicked open. A beam of light shone in. Chi. Don't. 20 after Edward pushed open the door. He rushed to me in almost 3 seconds. He took the scalpel from my hand and then hugged me tightly. Chi. It's okay. It's okay. I'm back. I didn't want to cry. I wanted to be strong in front of Edward and didn't want him to worry. But after a person is tense for a long time, it's like a deflated balloon and becomes powerless. Especially after facing the care of the person you love the most. I was afraid that he would think I was disobedient. I endured with great effort, held back my tears, and didn't let my voice tremble. I asked him timidly, "Will you blame me for being disobedient and then not want me anymore?" Edward cupped my cheeks with both hands and made me look up at him. At this moment, he looked haggard. His peach blossom eyes were bloodshot and his voice was a little choked. "I won't blame you. I only blame myself for not protecting you well." At this moment, I couldn't hold on anymore. I threw myself into his arms and cried bitterly. Every time I was in danger, Edward would arrive. I am very lucky to have him spoil me unconditionally. But at the same time, I also hate my own uselessness. Letting him clean up after me again and again. Be good. Chai. Don't cry. Let's give the evidence to the police and let the police handle it. Edward didn't want me to repeat the same mistakes. If I killed them, I would be wanted like him in the previous life. But without making them feel our pain, I couldn't relieve my hatred. However, handing it over to the police for handling is the best solution. Okay, let's give it to the police. 21 that day, Edward transferred all the evidence to the lawyer. The surveillance video in the operating room only captured the part where I lured David to say that he wanted to take my heart. In addition, all the videos in the hospital could testify for me that I was lured over. So it was a sure thing that David would be convicted. All the people involved behind would be sent in together. Except for Evelyn, who refused to admit it. David and my father, in order to protect Evelyn, both said that Evelyn didn't know the truth of the matter. But it doesn't matter. I also have my way to make Evelyn get what she deserves. I posted the video I took that day on the internet and let all netizens appreciate her changing face. And I gave the news of Evelyn being an illegitimate daughter to entertainment reporters. These two pieces of evidence are enough to destroy all her person as such as the pure little white flower, and the wealthy daughter that she has established over the years. Although she vehemently denied it. She was caught in an infinite cycle of self-proof. Netizens are not vegetarians either. Soon they dug out some of her early immoral remarks from the evidence she provided, as well as pictures and videos of her being ambiguous with certain directors. In the end, she was completely banned from the entertainment industry. All those who had hurt me got the punishment they deserved. 22 After things calmed down, I took the initiative to admit my mistake to Edward. I put on Edward's favorite lace pajamas and had a very sincere attitude. Mr. Edward, I promise to listen to you obediently from now on. I always think it's too mushy to call husband. Calling young Master Edward has a sense of immorality. Mr. Edward is just right. Anyway, Edward will answer whatever I call him. Edward, who was originally busy with work, paused his actions when he looked up and saw me. He coughed lightly twice. Chi. You don't have to listen to me. Never compromise and become another person because of others. That others also includes me. You can do whatever you want. I will definitely be your backer behind you. I could see that he was pretending to be calm because his reddened earlobes betrayed his heart. Don't you like it? I turned around in a circle to let him appreciate it from all angles. His watery eyes lingered on me. The red on his earlobe spread to his whole face. Wife. Don't tease me. Yes. We are already legally married. The book says that this helps to bring couples closer. There is still a long life ahead. Please, Mr. Edward, be mentally prepared. The barrage that disappeared for a while appeared. Young Master Edward must be thinking in his heart. Young people really know how to play. Please don't black out the content next time. Please. Congratulations on the happy ending. May Mr. Edward and Emily be together forever. Fortunately, the ending is very perfect. Then I wish you eternal happiness. The barrage gradually faded in front of my eyes until it completely disappeared. I know this is the end of the story in the book. However, the end of the book doesn't mean the end of our story. Our world is still there and our wonderful life continues. Extra Chapter 1. Edward wanted to take me on a trip to relax. He asked me where I wanted to go. I had a sudden inspiration. I want to climb the 5 great mountains in 5 days. Go rafting in Guizhou. Look for wild people in Shennongjia. And bungee jumping from Macaudar. After he heard these places I mentioned, his brows were tightly furrowed. After hesitating for a moment, he said, "Are you going on vacation or going through a tribulation?" As a result, all the places I mentioned were classified as dangerous areas by him. I hugged his arm and acted cochathus. Let's go. Let's go. He helplessly pointed at my stomach. Do you still remember that you were pregnant? Oh my God. I almost forgot. I have been pregnant for 4 months. But forgetting this is not the first or second time. Who would have thought that the baby seemed to be repaying a kindness? In the 4 months, there has been no pregnancy reaction. I can eat anything and walk vigorously. In the end, Edward took me to a small town in the south of the Yangtze River. He said there are mountains and waters and the air is good. I added, well, it's suitable for retirement. He lovingly rubbed my head. Are you making fun of me for being old? I exclaimed, when did you learn internet slang? Who made my CHIs 9 years younger than me? What if you disdain me? Besides you, who else can tolerate my temper? Besides Edward, who else would accompany me to do whatever I want? Extra Chapter 2. In midsummer night, cicadas are chirping everywhere, making the surroundings even more peaceful. Mr. Edward, when did you know me? I leaned on his shoulder and admired the starry sky in midsummer with him. I gave you your name. What do you think? I punched him. A little perverted. Why did you think of me before I was born? Your mother and my mother are good friends and they made a baby marriage. Who made you? This little ungrateful person. Forget me when you grew up. Mr. Edward, didn't I give myself to you? There is also one more in my belly. You have made a big profit. You can't call me a little ungrateful person anymore. Edward was afraid that my emotions would fluctuate greatly and immediately soothed me. Good. I was wrong. I didn't ask for specific details anymore. Edward didn't continue on the previous topic either. We both tacitly didn't mention what happened in the previous life. How he knew me and how he fell in love with me are all in the past. The past is mixed with too many unhappy memories. Repeatedly be entangled will only waste every minute and every second of happiness now. Let's give time to time. Let the past pass. And let the beginning begin. Then we look forward to a beautiful future with each other.